You were angry when the Academy, just after the war blew up, decided not to let Zelensky speak at the Oscars. And then, of course, that Oscars became known for the Will Smith, Chris Rock punch up on stage, which you don't think would have happened if Zelensky had been allowed to speak, because the idea of someone then committing an act of violence publicly at the same event would have been unthinkable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look, there was, what are films? You know, it's not just the celluloid you print them on. It's bigger medicine than that. You know, it can be. And so they're ideas, they're stories. What more cinematic idea or story is there? Or more identified with film? A film star, also a filmmaker, Zelensky. What's more appropriate at that moment in time to address the Academy Awards? He had no intention of being partisan politics in the United States. It was really to talk about the value of cinema and to thank all of those around the world that were supporting and the Academy. That's what he would have shared. And that they traded that for, I guess, the karma of what happened with Will Smith. You know, you look at Will Smith, whose performance was great.
As King Richard.
Just, I mean, why?
Amazing, yeah.
This petty kind of thing happens. I was back, and a part of the trip that was more related to my organization, CORE, back in Ukraine, at this point in Lviv when that happened. And literally, I felt...
Were you watching it?
No, I wasn't watching it, but I heard about it in the morning after and saw the clip. And I literally felt something like safer in Ukraine than Hollywood watching it, you know, mentally. How it just seemed so small.
And when you, in your earlier incarnation, punched somebody, you got a 60-day jail sentence, served half of it in prison.
Yeah.
Will Smith goes back up to receive the Best Actor award after whacking somebody at the Oscars live and gets an ovation from the audience.
Yeah, that ovation should be, that should be played on this show a lot of times too, because the shame on them, you know, so yeah, I just felt that was a very low moment in whatever, the leadership of the Academy in denying this thing, having, you know, or the producer of that particular show being so of such lack of substance, it was discouraging, yeah.
You were so angry about this, you wanted to melt down your 2 Oscars for bullets for Ukrainian soldiers to use against the Russians. And in the end, you didn't do it, but you gave one of your Oscars to President Zelensky, but on loan, and you said, when this war's over, bring it back to Malibu. And we've got a clip of what you'd like to do when you see him after this war ends.
I hope, I really hope, that when he's an old man, and I'm an even older one, that I might be sitting with him in a peaceful and prosperous free Kyiv, laughing like a couple of kids at what William Saroyan called the infinite delight and mystery of life.
It's a lovely thought, but you must have had quite a few moments, not least when you left Kyiv that first time on the day war had broken out, and you were able to leave and he was left there, that you might never see him again.
Of course. Yeah, it creeped up on me by surprise because, you know, when you meet somebody who's in circumstances that reasonably could end in any way you can imagine, and where there were such clear intentions by, you know, it's understood that there were Chechen kill squads in the streets of Kyiv who were targeting he and his family at that time. So it was coming at it from all angles, the potential targeting of government buildings, snipers, everything. And that he was this target, you make a decision faster, emotionally, and I recognize my affection for him. So I felt, I can't speak for him in this, he had a lot of things to respond to, but I felt a friendship, at least from my side, like a bond. And when we left, it suddenly hit me. What did I do that for? What did I open myself up to that for? Because it was a real worry.
Has he seen the movie?
Yeah. As a filmmaker, he had the patience to watch the whole thing. And so we walked into the office. This is some time after, I don't know, we'd made several trips. I'd seen him several times before this. And this was the trip we were making to show him the rough cut for the first time. And so he saw it sometime between 6 and 7 o'clock in the morning before starting his day. And we saw him at about 4 in the afternoon. When we came into the office, he's standing there looking at me and he said, "I'll bet you're glad I watched the whole thing."
I bet you were too.
Yeah, I was.
Because you've been accused, obviously, there's too much of you in the movie and so on, but you make a joke of that several times, about you're not trying to be Walter Cronkite and they liken you to Raul de Rivera and so on. You're seeing that joke, but at the same time, you're also aware you wouldn't have got the movie off first base if you weren't front and center with this. It wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, and again, it had to do with recognizing, and this was a process. First we couldn't get the financing if I wasn't on camera. Very hard, these movies. Now, there's a great movie called Freedom on Fire, which is a companion piece to Winter on Fire by Evgeny Evanovsky, who was nominated for the Academy Award for Winter on Fire, about the Maidan Revolution. And he hasn't been able to get a distributor for this thing, because these kinds of films are very difficult right now. I think he just showed it at the Vatican to the Pope, and hopefully some traction will come off of that. But so for us to get this thing done required me being in it. Then, I felt like again, it was saying, what's the value added? And of course, I can be mocked in whatever way, but I do think we were really successful, despite in the truth of how people can benefit from this thing, by offering myself to it in a way that is kind of like, it's kind of one of the, so like I say here, I've gotten access to people and things that I know wouldn't have come without my day job supporting that, and financially as well as in terms of access to people. And that normally, though it might not seem it to people because it gets covered, I have tried to avoid covering those trips and what I'm actually doing. I thought this time I'm going to let people come with me. Mm. And in the editing, it was really important to me. I make it clear, I have opinions. Big surprise.
You've been dipping your toe back into acting again. And you did say 5 years ago, I'm not in love with that anymore, about acting. Are you falling a bit back in love with it again?
Well, I had an experience that surprised me. Yeah, I did a movie called Daddy-O with Dakota Johnson, directed and written by a woman named Christy Hall. And it was kind of a gift of a piece, just really wonderfully written thing. And I hate admitting this part of it, but it was all run by women. Better than other jobs I'd been on.
Really?
And
you sound surprised, Sean.
No, just, embittered of my original intent to be, a misogynist my whole life.
What do you think of the current world we live in, where people no longer want to say what a woman is for fear of being cancelled?
I'm bored with it. I think let's talk about that when people aren't being vaporized on the front lines of wars. And I'll stay out of judgment on it, but I'm not engaged in the conversation. It just seems not like the priority.
The other thing I wanted to ask you about was the very sad death of Matthew Perry, because you appeared in several episodes of Friends, and he suffered from a lot of addiction issues. He wrote an incredible book about it, one of the most powerful books I've read. Your son Hooper had addiction issues, and you talked about that. He said you saved his life. Your thoughts about Matthew?
What a talented guy. I can't claim to have known him well, but I liked him very much. I saw him somewhat recently, and we were both catching a flight out of Los Angeles airport, and I, complimented him on what I knew of his book. I hadn't read the book. I had seen several of his interviews, and he seemed to be talking about, had confronted it, and was very intelligent and you know, bold about it, and generously offering his experience to people to be helpful. But it's tragic. I can't say that I was terribly surprised. I don't know what the whole coroner's report things and everything, but I know he had done a lot of damage to his organs over the years. And, you know, tough situation. And, you know, he got to do that. He got to leave that tail behind, and he got to give a lot of joy to a lot of people with his talent. And so, you know, I wish his family well.
I've tried to maintain the highest standards of journalism for this interview, because you said recently, I still don't like journalism that focuses on what toilet paper celebrities use. Out of interest, what toilet paper do you use?
I've got a roll of Putin face paper.
Have you really?
Yeah, somebody gave it to me, yeah.
You see, sometimes it's those questions that get the best answers. And the other thing I couldn't help but notice, because you turned up with her here, is you have a new lady in your life, Olga, and she's Ukrainian. How did you guys meet?
My good luck.
She's here.
She is.
Shall I get her into ours? No. But you're happy?
Yeah, very happy.
Sean, it's good to see you again.
Great to see you.
Let's not leave it so long next time.